The absolute drunkest game of the season for the Minnesota Wild, 8-7 in overtime. And think about this with me for a second, if you will. How is it possible that Kirill Kaprizov scoring twice, including the overtime winner, is not even the big story of the night? Joel Eriksson Ek with 4 goals. Count them. 4 goals. And the Wild needed every single one of them. We're going to dive into the goalie stats here tonight because I think we can point it in one particular direction. Roller coaster for Marc-Andre Fleury here tonight, and it is now a 3-game tune-up for the Minnesota Wild here between now and the end of the regular season. Lord have mercy, we got a lot to talk about here tonight, so why don't we fire it up? I think Joel Eriksson Ek just scored again.
You are Locked On Wild Postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Minnesota Wild win by a score of 8-7. This is one of those games where you go to the bar, you start drinking at 9 a.m. during the middle of the week. Just an absolute, just a slobber knocker here tonight. But there are important takeaways that we need to get to from this game. Number one, Joel Eriksson Ek is 100% healthy. And that changes some things. He looked, that is the best that Joel Eriksson Ek has looked this season. So the rest did the job. He was fantastic in the face-off circle. He was doing his thing in front of the net like he usually does. And even let one rip from the face-off circles. So that is the number one takeaway of the night. Joel Eriksson Ek is 100% healthy, and that is going to that is noticeable. Kirill Kaprizov, I don't know if he's 100%, but he is pretty darn close if he's not. A couple of goals for him tonight, got to his patented spot on the power play for his first goal, and then in overtime, masterclass from Kirill Kaprizov. He may not yet be 100%, but he is able to do all of the things that he typically does. This is not like the last time he came back from an injury where he was limited by what he was able to do. He's got the full bag at his disposal. And those two just change this offense completely. We're going to get to the defense and the goaltending here in a second, but those two just change the offense completely. And we talked about it in the preview of today's show. Marcus Foligno playing in the top 6 role right now is a play the hot hand because he is flying out there. He wins puck battles, and with the chemistry that Boldy and Eriksson Ek have, that's enough. That is enough to be the third player on that line. And you had 2 lines tonight. You had 3 lines tonight that were able to give you some goals here throughout the course of the game. And the 4th line, I know they didn't score tonight, but I might be in on Ryan Hartman as 4th line center. We'll see how that kind of plays out here over the course of the next couple of games. Marcus Johansson, again, he's been on a nice roll. Got to give credit. He's been on a nice roll over the last several games. Matt Boldy had a 4-point night. There's a lot to like from this game. Now, obviously, 7 goals against, not great, but we're gonna look at the stats here for this one. Let's get to the numbers because there are a lot of them for this game. So you've got 44 shots on goal for the Minnesota Wild. One of their highest outputs of the season. 31 shots on goal for the San Jose Sharks. The Wild were 3 for 4 on the power play. Did not commit a penalty either. against this San Jose team. Wild had the edge in faceoffs, slight edge in hits for the Sharks, and blocks for the Sharks were 24-14. The Minnesota Wild generated tonight an expected goals of 4.77 on offense. That is one of their highest outputs of the season. They ended up scoring 8, so Alexander Georgiev had a nice little negative 3.22 in the goals saved above expected category. Not the worst mark of the night, but that's not great at all. The Minnesota Wild also had one of their highest shot attempts numbers of the night as well. But look at these numbers. The Minnesota Wild had 62 unblocked shot attempts tonight. 46 of them were low danger. They had 10 medium danger attempts. They had 6 high danger attempts. So 16 of their 62 shot attempts tonight right at the net. Not a surprise with Joel Eriksson Ek back in the lineup. The Wild scored 3 low danger, 2 medium danger, and 3 high danger goals here tonight. Just some masterful stuff. I know it's the Sharks, but I think another thing that was important tonight that we just have not seen from this team lately is puck possession. The Wilds handled the puck tonight, and getting Kaprizov back, getting Eriksson Ek back, that allows these lines to look a little more like they should, to where now you can win some of these battles head to head. You can win some of these battles against the line that you're going up against throughout the night. And the Wild did that here tonight. They're going to need to do a lot more of it. So it's not like it's cured, but it was a great step in the right direction here this evening. Now, on the other side of it, the San Jose Sharks had an expected goals against of 2.72 tonight and scored 7 goals. So here's what this tells me, folks. Marc-Andre Fleury had a negative 4.28 goals saved above expected. An expected goals against under 3 means that the defense is doing their thing. I think there were probably 3 or 4 goals at least that Fleury would like back. But can we really be surprised? Can we really be surprised at the fact that Marc-Andre Fleury was rusty tonight, considering the last start that he made was March 25th? That was roughly 15 days ago. The last time Marc-Andre Fleury was in net. So, yeah, probably should have had a couple of those back, but he hasn't played in 2 weeks. So you can't really be surprised. And there is no way that John Hynes is going to pull him tonight in his final start at home. It got way too close. You're playing with fire. I probably would have, but Hynes was not going to risk getting booed off the ice in that instance. So you have to kind of live with that. Offense did enough. Without Kirill Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson Ek, this is a loss. But the offense bailed Marc-Andre Fleury out, and the defense. Defense bears some of the brunt of the goals allowed too. You can't hang it all on the goalie. The statistics say that the defense only allowed what they allowed for expected goals. As far as the shot attempts go, 43 unblocked shot attempts for the Sharks tonight, 31 low danger, 9 medium danger, and 3 high danger attempts. So defense held, for the most part, defense held them in check. Again, the big story of this game, because guess what? In the playoffs, if the Wild get there, you're going to have Philip Gustafsson in net. This is just kind of part of the style too. We've seen this when Fleury has been in the net as opposed to Philip Gustafsson. Gustafsson is just much more of a calming presence in the net, which allows for more opportunities to stop the action and take a breath. Fleury likes to keep things rolling. That's how he's played his entire career. You're not going to change at this point in your career. That's just part of the experience. That's just part of the that's just part of how things go at this point. But we also need to acknowledge that the Sharks are on the way up. Macklin Celebrini is the real deal. He might be on a quicker path to ascension than Connor Bedard. How's that for a controversial statement? He is outrageously good. And Will Smith is good. They got some good young talent on that team. They are missing some pieces, which include goalie, which you've got Askarov that is going to fill that spot. Just there are a handful of games throughout the season that you got to kind of hang on and just hope that you can find your way to it. Celebrini is unbelievable, and he showed it here tonight. So, all in all, at the end of the day, the big thing was, how do Kirill Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson Ek look? And I think it's safe to say both passed with flying colors. The difference with Ek was noticeable. I have not seen him look that good since last year. He got hurt kind of early in the season and was dealing with some nagging injuries, but he had a full bag of tricks in this game that we haven't seen in quite some time. And we just got the full scope of why he is so important, why Joel Eriksson Ek is so important to what this Minnesota Wild team does. 4 goals right out in front. 3 of them were gathering rebounds and tipping them past Georgiev. The other one, he went into heat check mode and let a shot rip from between the face-off circles, and it got that one in between. Got that one in between the pipes too. Just looking at some of the numbers for the line combinations. The Foligno, Eriksson Ek, and Boldy combination had the, at least among the regular lines that play, had the high water mark in expected goals percentage at 65.9%. Kaprizov, Rossi, Zuccarello was at 53.6. Trenton, Hartman, and Brazeau was at 52.4. So 3 of your 4 lines with an expected goals percentage of 50% or higher, like that. It was a game that was too close, yes, but a good opportunity to test some things out. And the combinations looked good, at least for their first game. This is going to be a completely different story in the game that we have, that the Wild have coming up on Friday against Calgary. There will not be a third of the goals that were scored tonight in that game. Just not the way that Calgary plays. And we'll be lucky if we get to 5 total in that game Friday night, which takes on just massive significance, because that is and Calgary has a lead on Anaheim, of course. That's going to decide. If Calgary loses that game to the Minnesota Wild Friday, that puts them in a world of hurt. If they win that game, it's a race to the finish and they have an extra game in hand. So, yeah, gonna need that one tonight. I talked about it a little bit too in the pregame. There was a trap game element to this game too, because there's so much focus on that Calgary game coming up that I think there was a little bit of we can show up and just get it done, and you not with that level of talent on that roster. You gotta take them seriously, or this kind of thing will happen. So we're gonna start doing. We're getting a little ahead of the game here, but I would say the things we're gonna start to sort things into categories: was and wasn't for each game. Was category is things that worked. Joel Eriksson Ek, Kirill Kaprizov, basically the whole top six, the power play. So those all were things that were good. Goaltending, not so much, but again, I can't really be surprised throwing a goalie in that hasn't played in 2 weeks. I can see why Brock said what he did. We had Ek, Kirill back, scored 8 goals, and we're 5 into talking about the game, and all the comments switched to how bad things were. I mean, I've been talking for 18 minutes, but it's close to 5. Let's break. Let's continue with the comments. We'll try to get an update on Jake Middleton as well. And we'll give you a little bit of a preview of what is coming up against Calgary on Friday. A big win for your Minnesota Wild here tonight, 8-7, 15 combined goals for the Minnesota Wild and the San Jose Sharks here tonight. Joel Eriksson Ek had 4 of them. What a game. More to come as we continue today's postcast edition of Locked On Wild after this. Today's postcast is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they are packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Again, I always keep a bag on me. I've got one over my coffee table right now, the honey roasted, no shells variety. It's so easy to put them in a bowl, pop on the TV, and I've got a snack that I can munch on whenever I want. They are delicious, and it is going to be your favorite snack before you know it if you check them out here today. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Do you have trouble sleeping? If so, you're not alone. That used to be me, lacking rest, tossing and turning. I was late for meetings. I never felt like myself. That's until I found Bare Mattress. Bare Mattress and their sleep recovery technology helped me fall asleep faster as well as enjoy deeper sleeps. I felt like myself again, and you can too. Bare Mattress knows that every sleeper is different. That's why they have their sleep quiz on their website that finds you your perfect match. As a side sleeper, I matched with the Elite Hybrid mattress, and I've been telling everyone in my life they have to try Bear Mattress risk-free. You can sleep on your Bear Mattress up to 120 nights, and if you're not getting the best sleep of your life, you can get it refunded. They'll pick it up with absolutely no hassle. So go to bearmattress.com and use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout to get 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com. Use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
The Minnesota Wild win 8-7 in OT over the San Jose Sharks. How about this for a stat? Joel Eriksson Ek had 4 goals in his return to the Wild. It's the most goals by a player who returned mid-season after missing at least 10 straight games in a season in NHL history. Again, it's the most goals by a player who returned mid-season after missing at least 10 straight games in a season in NHL history. So add that to the fun here tonight. I want to get back to a comment from Big Ticket KG21. I'm a Wild pessimist, but that was fun, finally. Haven't smiled about the Wild since January. This is an element that has been missing since Kirill Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson Ek were out of the lineup. And we talked about it a little bit, but that was fun tonight. That was fun to see a flurry of goals and a team that has struggled so mightily getting consistent scoring to be able to just continue to pour it on in this game. I don't remember the last time since it probably was that Vancouver game 10-7. I don't remember the last time I looked up and just was like, where's this offense coming from? But it was just torrential waves of offense. And it stems from the puck possession. The Wilds, all 4 lines did a good job of possessing the puck here tonight. And I think by slotting the depth in naturally where it should be, by getting Eriksson Ek and Kaprizov back in the lineup, I think that's a huge reason as to why the puck possession was so good in this game tonight. You have guys playing more in their natural spots, which means that they're going to be more comfortable with where they're at, and they're not trying to do too much throughout the course of the game. Every line, it felt like they had good opportunities and good chances, and it was fun to see the offense again. And if you have not already, you should check out the Minnesota Wild Twitter account, X account. Kirill Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson Ek both shared the hard chain tonight. Those two felt very good about getting back into the lineup, which makes you feel great because they're 2 of the hardest workers on the team. And I'm sure it just killed them to not be on the team. So to have them come back in and have the impact that they did, that's hard to beat. That's hard to beat. And Kirill Kaprizov now with 4 games to play. Think about this. Think about this for a second. Kirill Kaprizov with 4 games to play. There's 3 games to play. Kirill Kaprizov with 3 games to play has an outside shot at 30 goals. He had 2 tonight, so he gets to 25. Could he score 5 in the final 3 games? It would be a lot of fun if that was the case. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens here for the final 3 games of the season. Let's go to this from Britt. Any updates on Midzi? Once Midzi's back, the Wild will be at a full roster finally. I haven't seen any update on Jake Middleton, at least at this point, Britt. Obviously, we're keeping an eye on it. The last update was day-to-day. Again, that was the last update that I saw on Jake Middleton. I think I'll just lay out what I think is the case. It's not necessarily the it's not necessarily how things play out, but good catch by Connor here. Midzi did practice, but I think what happened with Middleton, I'm doing the hands thing again. I think if it is a concussion, it's a mandatory 7 days out of the lineup for Middleton. The NFL's got the concussion protocol. The NHL has mandatory 7 days out of the lineup. So if it was indeed a concussion, which it's either a concussion or a collarbone, one of the two, I guess I would hope concussion then. But that would mean then that he'd be able to get into the Anaheim game in the final game of the season, and that would be it. But honestly, if he comes back, if he's able to get one game before the season is done, one or two, that is preferable. And if it is a 7-day mandatory out of the lineup, he'll be back in for Anaheim, and then it's on to the postseason. So we'll keep an eye on it, but as of right now, he's practicing, but is also day to day. Let's go to Michael. Michael, thanks for tuning in. Are the Wild going to call up Zeev Boyum for the playoffs like they did with Faber from last year? This is interesting. I was adamant that I thought that the Wild were going to go that route. Evidently, Michael Russo in his latest radio hit, and I think in Worst Seats in the House too, he is not as optimistic about this being the case because I think the reason that it worked out so well last year or for Brock Faber is the Gophers got knocked out, and the timing was just right there, and the Wild had they had a spot ready for him. I really don't know. I would be highly in favor of it because I have been talking about it for weeks. As much as the third pairing defensively, is not hurting you, they're not generating anything offensively. Not a thing offensively. And I think Zeev Boyum can help you with that right now. I think he can come in and I think he can help generate offense. And I think with his puck handling and with his skating ability, I think it's just an easy transition for him. Now, that's not to say that there aren't going to be some rough patches when he's at the NHL level, because it's an adjustment period. It's an adjustment period going from college to the pros. But I don't know that the Wild have the same feeling. And if Russo is starting to kind of cool on the idea, they may not do it. So I don't know. At this point, I could see it going either way. I would love to see Zeev in the lineup. Locked On Wild is officially pro Zeev Boyum. I hope I'm not breaking any news there. But I could see it going both ways. So we'll have to we'll have to see how that plays out. I would take that third pairing over a Chisholm any day right now. This is interesting. Declan Chisholm has put up some just eye-boggling numbers for the most part, when he is off the third pairing. When he's on the third pairing, stapled to one of the other two members of that third pairing, his numbers have not been great. When he's with Jonas Brodin or Jared Spurgeon, his numbers have been far better. What that tells me is that he is somebody that still maybe needs a little bit of an assist from his pairing partner. Just somebody to kind of help cover a little bit of ground. There's nothing wrong with that. Jonas Brodin was doing that for Matt Dumba for his entire career. But Matt Dumba brought offensive upside until the fight that basically ended his career offensively. He has been prone to some pretty eye-opening turnovers, but get in line. Members of this team have certainly not been they have been generous with turning the puck over here lately. So it just I think we know what these guys are at this point. We know what John Merrill is. We know what Zach Bogosian is. We know what Declan Chisholm is. The key is going to be getting Jake Middleton back in the lineup. That is the wild card here. You get him back in, you get him slotted into the lineup, and then that gives you've got options then. If you decide that you're going to go with Merrill and Bogosian to start the postseason, you've got Chisholm that can come in and fill in for one of them. Just like I said on today's show with the forwards, now that you have a actual NHL, now that we've got actual NHL players up and down the lineup, you've got Vinny Hinostroza as your 13th forward. So if somebody has a rough game or is in need of just a little bit of a wake-up call, you can slot Hinostroza into a few different spots in this lineup and feel good about what he brings you. So now we're going from having guys like Devin Shore in, who is like a 4A guy, or Brendan Gaunce, who is also more of an AHL player than an NHL player. You go from that to having the fourth line that we had tonight with Hartman, Trenyan, and Brazo. And if you don't like what Brazo is bringing, you can put Hinostroza in the lineup, and you know he's going to battle his tail off. He's going to work hard. So getting Eriksson Ek and Kaprizov back in the lineup also got it to where there are actual NHL players up and down this lineup. So it is a 1-2 combo, getting Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek back and just getting NHL players up and down the roster. So that's, I think, why things looked so much better here tonight. But those two, you could just tell those two were hungry to get back in. They were starving to get back in. 17 combined shots on goal in this game, 6 goals, 7 total points, and both played right around 20 minutes. So, training wheels? No, not at all. Not at all. Let's get a scoreboard update in. The 2 games that we are tracking at this point. Edmonton, thanks to many of our wonderful listeners for keeping an eye on things. Edmonton currently leads St. Louis 2-1 in period number 2. And the Calgary Flames have a 1-0 lead over Anaheim in after 2, end of the second. So 2 full periods in the books. Who's in net? Who's in net for the Dustin Wolf, 12 out of 12 in the saves department. Ville Husso, who is now playing for Anaheim, I am just learning. Remember St. Louis Blues great Ville Husso, who took a shot off the back of the mask from Kirill Kaprizov and was so horrendous in the first 2 games of that series that the Blues went to Jordan Binnington and never looked back. Pepperidge Farm remembers. And, just looking at this Calgary game a little bit, we're going to do a full deep dive into it. And I am also being told that Ryan Suter scored a shorthanded goal against the Oilers, which gross. Why is Ryan Suter playing on the penalty kill? Gross. Why? Why would you play Ryan Suter on the penalty kill? Yikes. How is he doing this year, by the way? Do I even want to know? He's got 14 points. He's going to play in a full 82 games for the St. Louis Blues this year. He's going to play in a full 82 games. What year is it? I feel like Robin Williams jumping out of Jumanji, screaming, "What year is it?" What year is this? Unreal. Let's take a look at the post. I like when the Minnesota Wild do the post game notes. Oh, that is way too big. So here's what we got from the Wild tonight as far as notes go. Marcus Johansson scored his 10th goal of the season to tie the game at 1-1 and was assisted by Freddie Gaudreau and Gustav Nyquist. Johansson now has 16 points in 22 games since the Four Nation face-off break. So that's solid. I will give Johansson some credit for picking his performance up since the Four Nations break. Nicely done. Brock Faber gave the Wild a 2-1 lead with 1:12 remaining in the first period. He was assisted by Matt Boldy. Faber now leads Wild defensemen with 9 goals this season. Joel Eriksson Ek, more on him later. He scored his 10th goal of the season to give the Minnesota Wild a 3-2 lead with 12:12 to play in the second. He was assisted on the play by Marcus Foligno and Matt Boldy. Kirill Kaprizov scored a power play goal, his 24th of the season, to tie the game at 4 apiece with 2:58 left to play in the second. He was assisted on the play by Matt Zuccarello and Marco Rossi. On the play, Rossi registered his 100th career point in the NHL, 45 goals, 55 assists. With the assists on the Kaprizov goal, Zuccarello extended his point streak to 4 games. Joel Eriksson Ek scored his 2nd goal of the game, 11th of the season, to give the Wild a 5-4 lead with 11.9 seconds to play in the second. He was assisted by Marco Rossi. Eriksson Ek scored his 2nd power play goal of the night to complete the hat trick to extend the lead to 6-4 at the 1:02 mark of the 3rd period. He was assisted by Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Zuccarello. 3rd hat trick of Joel Eriksson Ek's career and the 1st for Minnesota this season. On the play, Kirill Kaprizov recorded his 200th career assist. Joel Eriksson Ek then scored his 4th goal of the game to extend the Wild lead to 7-4 at the 2:06 mark of the 3rd period. So we had 18 minutes left to play in this game, and Eriksson Ek had 4 goals. He was assisted on the play by Matt Boldy and Marcus Foligno. First career 4-goal game for Eriksson Ek. Here's the big nugget. Here's the nugget. Eriksson Ek joined Marian Gaborik with 5 goals against the New York Rangers as the only 2 players in franchise history to score 4+ goals in a single game. He also overtook Jason Zucker for the 5th most goals in Minnesota Wild history. 5th most for Joel Eriksson Ek. Matt Boldy recorded a career-high 4 assists. It's tied for the second highest single-game total in Wild franchise history. Kevin Fiala had 5 in 2022 against Seattle. Per NHL stats, Boldy recorded his 7th straight multi-point outing versus San Jose, dating back to March 11th of 2023. Only 2 players have posted a run of that length against the Sharks. Mario Lemieux had 9, and Paul Kariya had 7. Per NHL stats, Boldy increased his totals over the past 2 games to 1 goal and 6 assists. The only Wild player with more over a 2-game span is Kaprizov with 4 and 4 from February 19th to 20th. Kirill scored in overtime to give the Wild an 8-7 lead. That was his 10th career overtime goal. Marc-Andre Fleury recorded his 70th overtime win, most in NHL history, passing Martin Brodeur. That's why they did it. They just wanted to give Fleury the OT record. Per NHL stats, Fleury, 13-9-1, will conclude the 2024-2025 season with more wins than losses. It will mark the 19th winning season of his career, which will surpass Patrick Waugh for the second most in NHL history. Martin Brodeur tops the list. With the win tonight, the Wild have now won 7 games, its last 7 games against San Jose. They are 12-2-1 in the last 15 against the Sharks. New season high with 8 goals in tonight's game. The 8 goals are tied for the second most in a single game in franchise history. 7 other occurrences. Raise your hand if you know the most amount of goals scored in a game by the Minnesota Wild. Vancouver, 10-7. To go along with the season high 8 goals, the Wild also set a new season high with 41 faceoff wins. Minnesota tied its season high with 44 shots and 3 power play goals. Lot to digest. Usually the game notes are not that long, but there's a lot to get to. In tonight's. Just so much going on. So, yeah. After 2, Edmonton leads 2-1. Who has scored for the Oil? Connor Brown and Vasily Podkolzin. Solid. Oh, and it's not Stuart Skinner in that. It is Calvin Pickard. Jean-Luc Picard. Interesting. Tyler Toffoli couldn't help but laugh when asked if this was the kind of game that you throw away the tape. He said, I mean, we gave up 8 goals, so I'm pretty sure we're going to have to look at the tape. Yeah. Probably accurate. Could you imagine Celebrini and Kaprizov on the same line? Certainly could, but that would take some doing. Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has officially entered the postcast. Denny, what are your thoughts on this game tonight? Plenty of goals, to say the least. What a game. What a game indeed. I just want to look at a couple of other things. We'll get more of Denny's thoughts as they come in. Just looking at some of the notable performances. So obviously Boldy had the 4 assists. Eriksson Ek had the 4 goals. Marcus Foligno had a 2-point night and 5 hits recorded. Marcus Johansson scored. Kirill Kaprizov had a 3-point night. Gustav Nyquist had an assist. Marco Rossi had a 2-point night tonight. Yakov Trenin had 3 hits. Matt Zuccarello had a 3-point night. Brock Faber scored. Brock Faber scored, played 24 minutes, and Jared Spurgeon had an assist. Ek showed his presence. He certainly did. And he just completely took over the front of the net, which is his spot. You want to talk about Ovechkin's office on the left faceoff circle? Eriksson Ek's office is right in front of the goalie, planted in front of the goalie. Very astute observation, Denny. Very astute. Can we take a second? Can we take a second to do just a moment of silence for Ray Shero? I did not mention that. I didn't talk about this in the show today because I think at the time I was recording it, it was just kind of coming out. But very sad news for the Minnesota Wild. Learning of Ray Shero passing, who was special assistant to the Minnesota Wild, special assistant to Bill Guerin, a hockey lifer. He had been in hockey for a long time, obviously with the Pittsburgh Penguins, with the Ottawa Senators, Nashville Predators, and the New Jersey Devils throughout his career. Won the Stanley Cup in 2009 and was named the general manager of the year in 2012, 2013. So some tough news today. All the best to the Shero family for obviously what is a tough time for them after today's news. Denny on Kaprizov as well. Kaprizov on his off wing reminds Denny of Ovechkin. I think Kaprizov would love that comparison too. Locked On Sharks has also checked in tonight. Of all the games that the Minnesota Wild have played against the San Jose Sharks in their history, this was certainly one of them. What JD, what do you want for Celebrini? He's got to be available, right? There's no way you guys can pay him. Think it over. We'll talk. We'll chat. And also for all of your Macklin Celebrini steam, because it turns out he's really good. Make sure to follow Locked On Sharks and Middleton for Celebrini seems fair. All right. You drive a hard price, but you drive a hard bargain, but I think I can meet you. I think I can meet you at that one. There was a lot of offensive scoring talent in that game. Lord have mercy. But thankfully the Wilds got the win, got the 2 points, and now are just waiting to see what happens in the Blues versus the Oil. So here is, I'm going to kind of start to wrap it up. It is after 11, and I'm obviously very old, so it's getting time for me to go to bed. We tomorrow are going to take a look at the return for Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek a little more in depth, with some actual behind the scenes numbers. So that's coming up for you tomorrow, and then we will be taking a full dive into the weekend. I'm going to call it clinching weekend for the Minnesota Wild, because they certainly could at least put Calgary in a really bad spot if they beat Calgary on Friday. Now, if they beat Calgary and Vancouver, then with one game to go, you have officially made it. So we're calling this clinching weekend, and I'm going to look on Friday in full detail at what the weekend has in store. So we're getting right down to the nitty-gritty of it, folks. And I know today's game was far from perfect, but just think about this. I leave you with one thing. For tonight's show. For once, in a long while, probably since Kirill Kaprizov was knocked out of the lineup, the offense won the game for the Minnesota Wild. They have been relying on goaltending and defense for months. For the most part, there have been some exceptions, but for tonight, the Minnesota Wild's offense won them the game. And it's no coincidence that it was the two players that were out that came back and did a lion's share of the lifting. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in to tonight's postcast. Again, the Minnesota Wild win a wild one, 8-7 in overtime over the San Jose Sharks. They now have 93 points in the season. St. Louis Blues currently trailing 2-1 to the Edmonton Oilers. Calgary Flames have a 1-0 lead over the Anaheim Ducks. We'll see how those scores play out here tomorrow when I wake up. But thanks, everybody, for tuning in. As always, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to hit that like button before you leave. And make sure to join us for another new episode coming up for you tomorrow right here on Locked On Wild. We've got you covered throughout the rest of the regular season and the push towards the postseason with new episodes every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.